All speakers must ensure their comments are relevant to the issue at hand and to refrain from personal comments or criticism or mentioning any private information. No other persons are permitted to record the meeting unless specifically authorised by council to do so. So, opening prayer. We give thanks for the contribution by pioneers, early settlers, and for those who fought various wars of every we have today. May the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be accepted in thy sight, O Lord. And in that prayer, Councillor, we'll add that our thoughts and prayers are obviously with the recent rain events over the last couple of days in our local government area for those people who have been affected. We hope they are all good and well, and offer our full support to our staff with the clean up of them. And please pass it on to the engineering staff. It's a big task ahead, and you have our full support. So we're saying that, councillors, in the acknowledgement of country, I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of this land that we're meeting on today, but also like to pay respect for elders past, present, and emerging of the Yuckabull, Kamilaroi, and Bundjalung nations, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal people present. Councillors, there's no apologies. Is there any disclosures of interest to do with items that we're dealing with today, councillors?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Deputy?
Just making sure that there's no doubt, the National Monument, I'm very proud to say, has got a first DA in on the list. It won't be coming to council, but just putting it in there that I'm involved and I'll be staying in the room.
Thank you, Councillor Sawyer. And obviously, Councillor Sawyer, that's you're declaring that as chairperson of that. Thank you. And I do wish to thank you for the great job they are doing and you're doing as chairperson. I'll move in a second, please, to accept Councillor Sawyer's disclosures of interest, please. Councillor Bob Roden, thank you. Second by Councillor Mike Creepy, thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillor, confirmation of the previous minutes, and it's item MIN2/21. Would someone in attendance like to move that they are a true and correct record of that meeting, please? Councillor Tom Peters, thank you. Seconder. Councillor Brian Murray, thank you. All in favour? Again, carried. Just a comment on those minutes, councillors, to do with the celebration 150 years. We had a very good start to that the other day with a meeting this week on Monday, and thank you for everyone all involved. And it's off to a good start, so I just wish to share that with you. And obviously, we'll keep the council informed of the progress to do with that, which is really important. No tabling of documents, councillors. No. Those are laid supplementary items of business. There's no community consultation, public access. There's no mural in it. Recommendations to consider. We'll start with page 32 in your hard copy, councillors. COM 7/21. It's to do with Anzac Day arrangements, Sunday 25th, 2/21. I'll move in the second to deal with this item, please. Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Second, please. Councillor McNish, I thank you. And I'll hand over to our acting chief executive officer to. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm hoping, councillors, that the report is reasonably self-explanatory. It's that time of the year again where we identify individuals who will be attending those various services. So I'll leave it open now for people to nominate.
As we do go through, and I do want to.
Often it's something.
I apologise.
So just letting people know that there's no service at Urbanville. We don't think that there's a service at Torrington. That's still waiting to be confirmed, but I doubt that will be happening. And I'm just waiting to hear from Greg.
Definitely an afternoon service.
Yes, got that one.
Councillors, before I start to do with the dawn service, which obviously I'll be at, and just filling out papers we go. And Councillor Berry, obviously you'll be in attendance at Legume also.
Yeah, I dare say I'll do Legume and Urbanville as usual, and I'll be at Liston, but I think somebody else always does Liston.
Councillor Nolan just informed us that Urbanville aren't having a service. So you're aware of that. Councillor Berry.
Yeah.
Urbanville aren't having a service.
I didn't hear you.
Urbanville are not having a service.
Oh, okay.
So that's through Nolene, and obviously to contact the council, yes, not?
Yes.
Yep. Anyway, so I'm happy to do, obviously a dawn service, Gary and I'll do legume, and then you'll have an afternoon service, which they're recognising the Cornwall family this year. So to any councillor that wish to attend, you're more than welcome. They do a wonderful job down there, recognising their past history of that area, so that's what they do. And I'll have a time. So we'll go through who, in Torrington, you're waiting to hear back from them. Oh, they're
I'm
not.
pretty sure they're cancelling. but-
Tom, you usually done that, haven't you?
I'll go at the time, but I won't worry about it all.
Okay, councillor, I'll just go through quotes and correct me if I'm wrong. Councillor Murray, you always do Wollongong Jennings?
Yes.
You're happy to do that, councillor Murray? This is for your record, so that'll go down. Great service, obviously, no one you said no, or,
Just still waiting to hear from them.
okay. Councillor Brummer, welcome. You and councillor Mitchell.
If it's on, Bronwyn and I will probably go down as per normal.
That gets the listing,
Just like no one's
the,
going.
you haven't, I'm sorry, councillor.
No, Liston are having, it's like no one's going. Liston are having their dawn service.
Yep,
So councillor Berry said he was happy to go to that. I'm not sure if someone else.
am I wrong in thinking that councillor Forbes usually
He
attends?
normally does.
Councillor Forbes, can you hear me?
Need to unmute councillor Forbes.
Councillor
Can you hear
Forbes?
me? Can you hear
Yeah, we
me?
can. Yes?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
think I better give, I don't wish to make a commitment with listen just yet, okay? But I'm a possibility.
Righto, that's fine.
Okay.
Righto. Councillor Brummer.
What time's he in girls?
Usually about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, councillor. But they, I'm talking to Julia Hartman here at the meeting that she was going to come back with a confirmed time. But usually 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the hall. And then they go and have a flag raising at the memorial in the school. So they do, it's quite a good afternoon, very good. So they do. So any other comment or anything with this there? I don't think so.
So you'll be at Newborn.
Yes. Then again, in the dawn service. And just to comment, as good as our NZAC service is back, and I'm sure that ourselves are working hard to have the code one. We need to be supportive of that. Other comment, councillors? The recommendations there, all happy to accept the recommendation? Yes? Yep. Carry, thank you. Councillors, remember on page 35 in your hard copy, it's item COM8/21. Tenfield Sculpture walk, I'm sorry. Can we have a move for the second here, please? Councillor Brown, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Bob, thank you. The officer's recommendations there, councillors, any comment, questions, the officer to do with this one? Councillor Brown, yes?
Just the horticulture one, that's got the fruit. I thought most of the horticulture stuff here was flowers. I thought the society got on, lost the plot.
That's a very good question. Remind me what they're doing with the horticulture one, is that?
Well, it's
That's not
the
the clear on the
lady, the
dog.
lady with the bowl
That's right.
of fruit, and I thought that originally it was going, when we had the presentation, it was going to be flowers.
Yep.
A lady with flowers, so I'm just not sure.
Were you at the workshop the other day when Zara presented, councillor?
No, I was away.
Okay. Because that was presented and we didn't seem to have any problems with that, but you raised a good point. It's not up yet.
No, it was just, I mean, the concept's fine with me, it was just a clarification because previously the previous workshop I'd been to.
Yep.
That had been spoken about flowers.
Yes.
Not fruit, and I just thought the Horticultural Society mostly has flower shows.
And they do to the state, some comment from their acting
The
CEO.
the only thing I'd identified in the councillor is it's a colourful female who is standing in a field of flowers holding fruit. So that's probably where the flowers come into the representations.
That might be.
Okay. Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Tom.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I hope they're going to improve on that horse that they originally had.
Okay. Councillor, were you at the workshop the other day?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, I apologise.
They improved the horse.
Very
Thank you for that.
Councillors, nor am I trying to take the blame away from this wonderful, which is through funding that the council's allocated. and the great job that Zara's done thus far. But it's really important, I know we're all busy to attend those workshops to raise those questions, but it seemed to be that everyone was on track, I thought, with the changes that have been made with the sculpture, but I do note your comments, councillor. And to do with the Light Horse group, Zara's had communication with them and they seem to be pretty happy with it. So I can share that with the councillor Tom Peters. But no. Okay, councillors, recommendations there, all in favour? Again, carried. Councillors, moving to page 38, the hard copy, it's item NC 06/21, sale of land Chatterfield Industrial Estate, lots 14 and 15. We do have a change in the recommendation, councillors. Mr. Della will pass that out. Just. So what we do, we're going to do is set that change in the recommendation.
I think we can just actually put the recommendation into the, and then obviously it becomes the recommendation. So it's from the officer has changed, given some of the timing issues in getting the business paper to the councillors, we've verified the data and got the appropriate owners for these particular blocks, which were incorrect previously. As such, the officer has changed their recommendation now to reflect that was being provided by the estate agent. So what we're actually asking, so it's Rebecca's recommendation, which is put forward to you today, that we'd like to replace the one that was in the business paper with this one, ensuring that the details are accurate, and the council to vote on that and formalise the process to enable the transfers to occur.
Rebecca, I apologise, I do welcome you to the meeting and as our mini Harry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So the many roles that you do, and now acting and Harry's on leave, and so welcome. Did you want to speak to the report about?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's exactly as Carlos just explained.
Yeah. Thank you. So councillors, I will read it, we're in a public meeting that to do with the officer's recommendation and then we'll move in second that this will become a recommendation. The council accept the revised offers as submitted by Harold Curry Real Estate and authorise the chief executive to execute the documents to transfer the land as follows. Lot 14, DP 1155323 Duck Superannuation Fund to Mr. Bruce Lyons and Miss Marissa Crystal Lyons as trustees for BML Superannuation Fund for $55,000 260, and lot 15 is DP 1155323 Emily Page for $42,000. Now I've been moving second of that now becomes the recommendation. I'm just about to do that. Councillor Bromwell, you're moving that, second by Councillor Sawyer. Any comment or questions to Rebecca or to our CEO to deal with this, councillors? Councillor Bromwell.
Yeah, I'm pleased to see it was fixed because I thought that the wrong blocks were to the wrong people in the book. I was just querying why this is actually coming back to us, because previously when it came to council, we said for sort of multiple offers,
Yes.
that it went back out and whoever had the highest offer got it. So I'm just wondering why it now comes back to us, or is that just a procedure?
Well, I thought that was it.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's a procedure to facilitate the transfer, so council, you're quite correct, did authorise to actually accept the highest offer, and this is a formalisation of those offers to enable the appropriate delegations to be given to actually sell the land or execute those transfers.
Thank you.
Any other questions to our CEO to deal with the report, Councillor Michael? About you, Councillor Cole.
Well, look, Pauline, who's going to end up with that Bruce Lyons or Duff?
Duff superannuation. It will be a transfer to two parties.
Divide between them. Fair enough.
Yes, sorry.
I thought, yeah, just look there, I thought one of them had to get it.
Yep. Councillor Tom.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm just wondering, I think it's a reasonably relevant question. The amount of money that council spent on developing the industrial estate, are we ahead or are we behind with all the sales of the blocks? Can somebody answer that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll take that one on notice, councillor. I'm more than happy to give you a summary of the total that has been provided and the expenditure. But obviously, we'll go back several years. It's not just in the immediate operations.
We're getting more rates than we have been, Thomas.
And we lost years of rates.
Councillors, I have no question, Councillor Peters, it's only you've asked the question, that's fair enough. And I can see you noticed that I'll take that on notice to come back to.
Mr. Mayor,
This is hang on, I'll come to you, Councillor. this council needs to be aware that decisions made at previous council can't be blamed on this council. I was on that council that, and so were you, Councillor Tom Peters, or you, Councillor Nick, and went through the wonderful process of developing that industrial estate. And to be fair to our staff, and they will come back with a comparison, which is a fair question, councillor, but it's nothing we can change. It. We need to get on with the job. And as Councillor Sawyer mentioned, it's the selling of the blocks and then gaining an income through the rates and getting that back activated. Councillor McNish.
Yeah, just partially answer Councillor Peter's question. As we know, those of us were here at the time, the engineer at the time did overspend a little tiny bit, especially to do with the removal of rocks and all that sort of thing. And the costs of what he did, what council did, when we put the original price on, that was just get our money back. But obviously it was too deep because we overspent in the first place. So like someone just said, we missed out on all those rates all those years. This is a matter of getting our money back, but that's how the costs were determined in the first place. Divided the number of blocks into what we spent, and that's what we come up with a figure. Even then, I said, remember, Peter, you probably would too, that gee, that's dear, we'll never sell them at that price, but we'll hope we do.
Yeah.
And we didn't.
That's right. Anyway, I'll repeat myself, we can't fix the past. And then get a good neck looking back, and we need to look forward and get on with the job. Decision made some time ago, well, this council to reduce those and put a more realistic figure on those blocks was a great move, and I commend the councillors that were heavily involved in that. It's obviously been successful because it's 100% sold now. We'll deal with it, and that's something we all should be proud of and get on with the job. Okay, so with the change of the recommendation, councillors all in favour of accepting the recommendation? Against? Carried. Councillors, moving to page 41 in your hard copy. It's item EC07/21 to sale of land Tenterville Industrial Estate, change of a purchase to do with lot 8. Can I have a move in a second to deal with this one, please? Councillor Brian Murray, I thank you. Second by Councillor Michael, thank you. Thank you, and I'll hand over to Beck again, with help from colleague, if you wish to present this report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, the purpose of the report is to inform you of the change of the purchaser for lot 8 of the Tenterville Industrial Park. And through you, Mr. Mayor, I draw your attention to the change in purchaser from Grant Town's haulage to RP's total assessments and driving training proprietary limited. Thank you.
Any questions, councillors, to do with this one? No? We'll have the second officer's recommendation. All in favour? Against? Thank you. Councillors, move on to page 44 in your hard copy. It's item EC08/21. Snake Creek Road Reserve update. Can I have a move in a second here to deal with this, please? Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Second by Councillor Bromwich. I'll hand it over to you, Jess. Well, Jess, got a meeting to do this report.
So the purpose of this report is to provide a bit of an update on how the formalisation of this matter is progressing and the requirements for council to proceed with compulsory acquiring part of the Crown land known as Lot 7. So we have already dealt with the private properties. There's 2 property owners that are involved where the physical growth reverses at the moment. We have got a deed of agreement with those, but this part is to deal with the Crown land TSR, which we need to compulsory acquire.
Any questions to Jess or Paul to do with the report, councillors? I just have a question. I did raise it with our debriefing, and it's just what I question. It's not. It's trying to help Paul and Jess to do with the previous in this document, to do with the previous minutes from 2008 and 16, and that's all I'm talking about. I note on page 49 of my hard copy that was made a comment that the annual amount allocated to fund the formalisation of road reserves is insufficient given the vast amount of roads within our shire and are not contained with a dedicated road reserve. My question is, to help that area, is it something when we go through our budget, or do we need to, and I'll stop there, we have a motion going to, they won't fix it tomorrow, which is drafted by Councillor Sawyer, going to one of our conferences very soon. But is it something we should note as a council that and it's not unique to Tenterville, we know it's all over the country, but is it something that we should allocate more funding to deal with that stuff? Just a question, that's all. For us to think about as a council.
I believe we
we can fund it up.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, it is something that we need to consider. Obviously, if we can get external funds to
Yes.
do that.
Yep.
All the better, but there is quite a lot of historical issues.
And that's not our fault.
Not our fault. But in terms of rectifying it, yeah, we need funds to do that. So it is something that we can reconsider again as part of the budget process.
It was just something I thought, and not a decision today, but just make council aware that when you read those things, it's something I know as mayor and as a councillor, that may be something that we should take and review to help our staff and won't fix it all, but whether in our budget that more money needs to be allocated to this, to deal with these things, because it's something that we're dealing with on a very regular basis. And I know that with the review that we've mentioned to be heavily involved in as a council, that it's something that, yeah, it's just a comment, that's all. Councillor John, yes?
Just following your comment, Mr. Mayor, and it's not this council's fault, but it's certainly not the fault of the landowners either. So I am very uncomfortable when a landowner goes to do something, suddenly they're hit with this massive bill from council to fix up something they have no say in for public usage. So,
And with the motion that Councillor Sawyer's raised with, correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor Sawyer, it's taken it to the both state and federal government to, we talking, is it to compensate or to add funding there?
To get the funding, Mr. Mayor, so that, as Councillor Petrie saying, the ratepayer is not liable for it, and nor is the owner of the property trying to. It's nobody's fault. It's historical. And I think that's why the motion, which I'll put up later, needs to be dealt with.
Anyway, but it's just a good discussion, and I appreciate councillors' input, but something we should note, that's why I raised. Okay, so the reports there, councillors, any other questions to the Jess or Paul? No? All in favour of the recommendation? Against? Carried. Councillors, we move on to page 51, correct me if I'm wrong in your hard copy. It's to do with a monthly operational report, and it's item GOV 17/21. Can I remove a second here, please? Moving a second, please, councillors. Councillor Murray, thank you. Second, Councillor Michael Quigley. And I'll hand over to acting CEO to present the monthly operational report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy to take any questions on by exception, or those who have got more information.
Questions, councillor, to do with the monthly operational report? I'll go to you, councillor McNish, then down to you, councillor Bromwell. Councillor McNish.
Just on page 86, just a quick question to the owner, that's all, Mr. Mayor, if I may. Yeah, what's a slashing blues cannon?
That's a very good question.
We're going to buy one, I thought you might know what it was. Well, I recommend it.
What page are the councillor?
Page 86.
They used it out of the fire.
Yeah, the use of the fire can be such a success.
We don't want
In what way?
to have fun.
Yeah. Slashing stroke blues cannon was a.
Oh, sorry.
Effective.
3 years, 3 years to me. It's a firefighting unit from the back of the water truck, so you've got the cannon.
Like fire cannon.
Yes, that's fire cannon. You might have seen it on some of the fire trucks that we've got around the place. We've got like has one. So it's for us to actually be able to fight a fire from a distance.
it's called a water cannon.
Okay. If anyone plays up in the main street, we can use it on them.
Was it ours or was it on loan?
Private demos.
We don't own it, do we?
No, purchase one.
This is something there, something there. I just didn't-
We had to get a hire truck and a couple of hire trucks in during the fires at one of the landfill to actually be able to get the reach to put the fire out. Makes it safe for those workout operators who might be near a fire as well.
We always had them on the line, water trucks, so that it was.
Councillor Bromwell, you indicated questions for your report. I'll go to you, councillor Berry, if you're online. I'll come to you after councillor Bromwell.
Just regarding our machines and stuff, apparently we've got 2 machines underwater down at Wingula.
I'm sorry, say again.
We've got 2 of our machines at the bridge underwater.
We are unsure at the moment.
Yeah, no, I can tell you they are. One of them.
I'm not underwater, I believe.
Oh, there's parts of them sitting underwater.
I believe that it's switched to the bottom of the cap at the moment.
So I'm just wondering will we have to do something like budget wise with something like that? And County Local was trying to move them, but they couldn't do no fees and.
One of those things, they're getting access to council, but anyway, if you understand, obviously if you're aware of the situation.
They tried to get out the escarpment, they were cut off by the other groups, not getting in. So it's just a matter of waiting until we can access it and assess them.
And the other thing was not actually operation, but I noticed today that Bunnabanoo Bridge is blocking access to the, like, you can't get through to Mount Lindsay.
Yeah.
On live traffic, it's still showing it as open.
Okay.
So can we, perhaps, CE could advise? That's it.
Councillor Berry, you have a question to do with the monthly report?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I've got 2 questions and a comment.
That's fine.
Page 27. We at the bottom of that page there, we're recording all the artworks. And I asked a question before. I'm just wondering how we're going with that. Page 17, we're talking about tourism. I'm just wondering how we're going with putting those high country tourist signs up. And the comment was about health on page 9. I'm just wondering, I think we should be more proactive in getting the federal government involved in that one, because that's what solved our problems up here on the border 50 years ago. That's just a comment. Thank you.
So we'll deal with page 27, councillor, to do with the monthly operational report. Yes? Councillor Berry,
Yeah.
page 27, was your first question.
Yeah, just recording of all the artworks. I was just wondering how we're going with that. It's a fairly big project. I know a few things have held it up. I'm just wondering where it's at the moment.
So,
Oh,
John, no, Councillor Berry, no, sorry, I just didn't want to talk over Tom.
But how did you get it?
The artworks, Councillor Berry, we haven't made much progress since the last meeting, and I do note that it was raised then, and I've spoken to the library manager about that particular issue. What I've been informed is that it's proving a little bit of a challenge at the moment while we still have items in storage, etc. So when his first came off the rank, as soon as we moved back into the building, my understanding is that we've catalogued all of the items that we've actually been able to see in that period. We're just waiting, as I said, to move some of those other items out so that we do know what we have, because obviously it's not just artworks that we've got, there's also some of the historical artefacts and photographs and the like that will make up part of council's collection. So.
Councillor Berry, what was your other question?
Yeah.
What part?
The other one was on page 17. We're talking about tourism. We had specific tourism signs to go up. I'm just wondering how we're going with those signs for this northern area.
I'll take that one on notice, councillor. I think it might be the weather, because I know that the manager of planning and regulation and others have been. My understanding is that they should be in situ. That unless the chief corporate officer's got anything else to add to that. The Border Mountain signs that have been signs, we're actually delivering those, I think 2 weeks ago, and then we had issues obviously with the weather and the like, and I know that there are still a couple of signs outstanding, so the project certainly started for a lot of our signage, but hasn't been completed.
Certainly not far away.
No, that's right. So as I said, yes, imminent councillor, and I will chase up again today and see how we've been able to go with that.
Thank you, Colin. Did you hear that, councillor?
I got most of it. It faded out there for a few seconds, but I get the picture.
The check's in the mail, as they say. It's coming. Next couple of weeks. Any other questions to do with the monthly report, councillors? Councillor Sawyer.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, through you to the acting CEO. My eyesight's not good enough on page 32 to see what the graph with the red and the green or whatever it is.
Good point, councillor.
On the left-hand side, what's all that?
Sorry, the large one.
Yeah, trying to read the, sorry.
Did bring my magnifying glass, council, it looked different
No.
on the page.
My glasses are very expensive.
So it's personal injury is the top one, is the red, and then it's reports theft, loss and damage. So the bottom is in terms of the statistics. So it looks like we're tracking 50-50. So top is personal injury, bottom is reports of theft, loss and damage in terms of our claims.
Very good, thank you.
Other questions, council, to do with the report? I've got a couple of ones, a comment and a thank you. And I've got one for you, just a little comment, and I know you'll be all over it. Fiona, your department in a bit of a tour I had the other day of that, of all the works that are going on in the north. So please pass on my congratulations with the Tulloon Road, absolutely fantastic job. And I can't believe that that's been done in such a short period either. It was, and then with attending progress meeting at Ermel the other night, they're very appreciative of that and all the works that are going on up in that northern area. So it's much appreciated and the community is very appreciative. I just want to share that with you. And I know that at the moment the conditions aren't perfect to do with the continued work on again the Woodmore. And so we're all very aware of that because I'm copping a bit of questions and comments. So come on, great, you know. But anyway, keep mines to use to do with our wonderful tail yards, and we're all very aware of the financial restraints around there, but with the wonderful and successful wing sale the other day, great to see the numbers back out there again. It was commented about the condition of the base in the yard, how muddy it was, and I know you're not God. I said to people about that, but they were, especially with the upcoming curry sale and onward, that have we got any plans to do a bit of work there with something? It wasn't only from one person, and it's not against you, it's just. Was a comment made, that's all.
Yeah, that's one, I'm thinking actually saying for me, the same thing, but it was planned to do this week.
Obviously not.
Is that actually did happen?
To put some re-shedding in order.
Yeah, no, just to clean them out.
Yeah.
Clean them out, there's gravel there to put back in, so.
Okay, thank you.
It is in the pipeline to be done, just with it.
Yep.
I hate to be done before curries.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Councillor Michael Quigley, yes?
Did you do anything about going to more, have a look at that truck wash out?
No, we haven't, hopefully in April. Oh, look, this month's got away from the Boris Council. Boris in flood at the moment too, so.
Yeah.
And just to share with everyone not to do with this, they've set up an emergency evacuation centre in Moree as we speak. Recently yesterday, I think, with our wonderful HR means all over that, and he informed me of that, so it's something point of knowledge of what they're dealing with out there. And I'll be speaking to Mayor Katrina later and wish her well.
She was on the ABC this morning, giving a big spiel about the big floods coming, it's happened up there, yeah?
Yeah.
It's gonna get there.
Okay, councillors, we're dealing with the operational report. Any more questions to start? No? The report's there. Happy to receive the note. All in favour? Yes? No. Councillors, remove on to page 52. It's item GOV 18/21. So National General Assembly of Local Government, 221, motions for debate. Can I move in a second to deal with this item, please? Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Bob Rogan, thank you. And I'll hand over to Polly or Paul. Present this to you, Con.
Once again, thank you very much, Mr. Dillon, for doing a lot of work on this. I really appreciate it. So I'll hand over to you to present the report, but thank you.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. The report's fairly self-explanatory, although I'm aware that there's an amendment to the report. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Councillor Sawyer, did you want to present the?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I would like to add dot point 5 to the recommendation. Alan, you've got the word?
I've actually got it there.
Yep. I'll read it out. That this National General, the motion is that we ask the National General Assembly to call on the Australian Government to provide grant funding to assist councils deal with the costs incurred in correcting historical errors in mapping of actual roads so that ratepayers do not have to meet these costs.
Amendment? Councillor Bean, amendment, a second for the amendment, please. Councillor Michael Quigley, thank you. Councillor Sawyer, you wish to speak to the amendment?
I think it's very self-explanatory, Mr. Mayor. We've had these discussions when the Kerry transfer was going on, and we'll continue to have these discussions every single time. That's prompted this morning, so I think it's self-explanatory.
Councillor Michael, thank you. You wish to speak?
That's pretty right.
Anybody speaking against the amendment? No? Okay. The amendment's in, we'll vote on the amendment. Oh, sorry, we're going to vote on the amendment. So we're voting on amendment moved by councillor Sawyer, second by Michael Petrie, all in favour? Gary, that now becomes recommendation.
Mr Mayor, a question, are we only allowed to put 4 or 5 motions up? I thought we only allowed 4.
That's a good point, councillor, I'm not aware. That's a very good point, actually.
I think some councils are putting more than 4 or not.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, councillor Sawyer. Not sure, councillor, we will find out. There would be rules and regulations. It'd be a shame to get something as important as this kicked out. Paul.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I didn't see any limitation in the documentation I read, and I gather what happens is that once all these motions go to the executive body, they will mould them based on between others.
They tend to draft them into areas where they sit, like financial, environment, whatever. Yeah. Well, councillor Bromwell, you're indicating,
Yeah, just
you got a question to the report or you got a comment
That's
on it?
number 4.
Yeah,
In advance to regional rural councils, should they be councils?
I apologise, councillor, say again.
Number 4.
Yes.
This National General Assembly call on the Australian Government to provide grant funding in advance to regional and rural council. Should it have an S on
Councils,
it?
so it's a typo.
Thank you.
Okay, picked it up, councillor. Any other questions, councillors, to do with the report? Okay, we're about the amendment that now is part of the officer's recommendation. All in favour? Yes, Gary, thank you. Councillors, move on to page 56 in your hard copies. Item GAV 19/21. Destination Business Economy Conference, Port Macquarie, 26th to 28th of May 2021. Probably moving second to adopt this, please. Councillor Bromwell, thank you. Second to Councillor Raven, thank you. And I will hand over to Officer Chief, who's the Executive Assistant Media. Hi, present that report. As we speak.
Open to question.
Yeah, that's the one. You'll handle that well.
The opportunity exists, I guess, given the fact that tourism conferences at Port Macquarie, it's a little bit closer for councillors to indicate their interest. The approval, and there have been a few people that have indicated some interest in doing that, so we put it up to council. Obviously, the persons named in the first section are those who are currently active in Council's Tourism Advisory Committee, but there's also the opportunity, I guess, to provide to some other interested councillors, given the location of that particular conference.
Thanks, Scott. Any questions to do with the report, Councillor Bromwell?
No, I've already indicated my interest to hold it and to attend. It's under part 2.
Right. So you're interested in attending, councillor?
Absolutely.
Because of the location and that, it is something that council has tried very hard for those councillors who don't get to attend a lot of things, and obviously we've travelled down there. That's with the number 2 is stating that because it's probably more affordable. But I do want to remind councillors when we put our hand up to be here and to go to these things that we make sure we do, because there is a financial cost there. Obviously, it's in the page 57, so 50 person and allocate 200 a night for accommodation. But so be aware of that. Oh, that's right. And it is, and we will have a council meeting due on that week. So I just want to make everyone aware. I'm happy to go to the conference, and if council is happy to stay and chair the council meeting, but then we need to be sure that we've got a quorum to hold the council meeting. So at the moment, we've got myself and Councillor Ravens and Councillor Berry attending, and Councillor Bromwell, you've indicated you wish to attend. So that's 4, that leaves 6 for our council meeting. Councillor Sawyer.
I'd like to speak against the recommendation part 2 for the reasons just outlined. I don't think we need the additional cost for so many extra interested parties. For the cost factor and also the fact that we do have a council meeting on that day. And if we have more than 3 away at the conference and we have 2 sick, we don't have a quorum at a council meeting. So I don't think it's necessary to have any more than 3.
That's a good point, councillor, because we do obviously shoot for the code of meeting practice. Of course, we need a quorum, so that's really important.
So the quorum is 6. That's correct.
One more than half.
Yeah.
Yeah, but council sort of raised a very good question because for whatever reason, could be someone sick, laid up, can't get here. So then you're back to 5, well, you're not having a meeting. So it's just something to note, and he's raised a very good point. And I'm fully supportive of it.
Fair bit of cost to go to $850 per person.
Yeah, that's the early bird one too.
Eh?
That's the early bird one.
Yeah.
Got to be in by the.
Can you hear me?
Yes, councillor Forbes.
Yes, I was just going to remind you of a couple of years ago when you and the deputy mayor couldn't attend a council meeting. It got changed on the whim without the council meeting, decided to change the council meeting date. It was about 3 years ago.
Yes, councillor.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a problem. I said we could change the council meeting date.
Good point. I can't remember. You are correct. I can't remember what it was about. We're waiting.
No, well, it's when you went down to, I think you stayed on for something to deal with Thomas George's retirement or something like that several years ago.
His benedictory speech.
Yeah. So
chaired the meeting. I was back late that afternoon.
yeah, and the two of you couldn't make it, but the point is we still would have had a council quorum regardless, but it was changed regardless. I do recall that. So then I think this could easily be changed. The council meeting could be brought forward a week if that's okay.
Well, I know that's discussion for councillors.
Yeah.
A couple of things we need to sort out. One's how many we're going to.
Yeah, well, it's been sorted out in April, I think.
Well, April's only not very far away.
Yeah, I realise that. Yeah.
So anyway, I've got a couple of things in councillor Soil. Just tidy all this up. You have indicated that number 2 shouldn't be in there. You have made aware of the councillors of the importance of that we have a quorum at our council meeting, which will be that in that time period. Councillor Forbes, with respect to you, you've raised a good point about we could move the council meeting. So
bring it forward.
We need to tidy all this up, councillors.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you. Like with regards to budget, we have an annual training budget, which quite frankly, we hardly ever done anything really. There's been minimal spend on our training budget. So I have no, I think in my entire time in council, 4 years, I've been away once representing council. And I have no qualms at all in putting my name up for this. I think tourism here is a very important issue. And as Councillor Nisha said previously, a lot of users as a networking opportunity, different things to go to. And yeah, so I'm very happy to support Don Forbes in recommending that we move the council meeting so that the council quorum is not an issue.
Right, well, you wish to move the amendment that council move the council meeting forward?
I'm happy to second Councillor Forbes' amendment to move the.
Just before we go, I'll just go to our CE for some comment.
Just the question I'll note on the program, that it's actually the opening in the afternoon on that Wednesday. So I would ask whether or not there's the opportunity for people maybe to attend part or to get through the meeting before actually travelling to Port Macquarie, because it does begin on the Wednesday. I think if you look at your papers from what I can see there, it's one the marketing workshop opening with tea and coffee with the trade exhibition. The welcome reception itself to the conference doesn't commence until 5 p.m.
How do we go? It's got very complicated. Not really.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, can the acting CEO advise how difficult it would be to bring it forward a week? How difficult?
Why would it?
The resolution, there needs to be a resolution and there needs to be appropriate advertising for the appropriate time for the meeting. So if you do wish to do that, then we probably need to decide on that meeting date today so that we can advertise by resolution.
Bring it forward.
Okay. Councillor Forbes, I'll go to you, so your comment, that's fine. You're happy to move that way, that with the main council meeting be brought forward 1 week?
Yes, that's what I'm happy to do, yeah.
Is that an amendment, Colin, or is it a resolution?
No, it needs to be an amendment, obviously.
To number 1? Well, what, number 2? Oh, okay, yeah.
Number 3.
So we'll put it in the amendments number 3, councillor, that the May council meeting, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, and you can agree or not, be moved forward 1 week due to the attendance of delegates of the Destination Visitor Economy Conference.
Yes, that sounds all right.
Councillor?
Thank you.
Councillor Robert, you happy to second that?
Yes. So that's
Tidy it up any way you wish.
the ordinary, count the ordinary meeting.
We're dealing with it as an amendment, councillor, so obviously you need to speak to the amendment, councillor Forbes.
No, I think it's pretty clear. It's bringing it forward 1 week, that's all. Yeah.
Councillor Bromwich, you wish to speak as a seconder? Okay. What do we deal with this one as number 3? All in favour of the amendment? Against? Councillor Sawyer, you want your name noted?
Thank you.
As against the amendment? The amendment's up. Now we deal with number 2 with the invited attendees of other interested councillors. Councillor Bromwich, with respect to indicating you wish to attend?
Yes. Quarry's open for business.
Apologise.
Port Macquarie is open for business by that time.
Okay. With that, do we need a second for the council, or has council just nominated herself? Please respect Councillor Peter and she's trying to work through this.
We've invited Councillor Bob and Petrie to be in her attendance, so that becomes part of the recommendation.
Okay, so with number 2, Councillor Bronwyn has indicated she wishes to go, so that's now in there. Now we'll put up the officer's recommendation inclusion. I apologise.
I'm not sure whether you wanted to speak.
Right.
Councillor Berry?
Councillor Berry, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, I do. I was just backing everyone up. I didn't know they're going to move the meeting forward. We could always have another different day, actually, but that's beside the point. But no, look, I'm in favour of going to all these tourism things, as many councillors as possible, basically because I see tourism as the future of this shire. I think we've been under promoted for that long now. I really think any new council should be on board with this tourism. We've got that many natural assets in the shire we're underutilising. It's not funny, and I think venues like this can help bring out the best in those people attending. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. So, councillors, we've voted and moved the amendments number 3. Apologise, Councillor.
I moved the amendment that 2 be deleted from the recommendation. Do I get to speak in support of that?
I apologise. You did. I was working with another amendment, the one that Councillor Forbes, I thought to tidy up the date first. So we've done that. So I'm happy that you wish to move an amendment to number 2, Councillor.
Yeah, as I said, I wish to remove number 2 from the recommendation.
Okay. As an amendment. Do I have a second for that? No? Councillor Forbes, with the amendment's lost you to lack of a second.
No, that was mine.
Beg your pardon?
Councillor Forbes, that was Councillor Sawyer.
I apologise. Councillor Sawyer, the amendment's lost due to lack of a second. Okay. Now we'll put the officer's recommendation. Councillors, all in favour? Against? Yeah. Page 65, councillors. In the hard copy, it's item GRB 21/21. Library services update of policy number 1.120. Move a second here, please. Councillor Brian Murray, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Michael Petrie, thank you. And I'll hand over to the Manager of Library Services, which is.
Jenny couldn't make it today.
No, that's fine.
The policy has been put up, I guess, which technically amends some of the administrative located in the library policy. So it's my understanding from my discussions with Jenny, there haven't been any major changes to that policy, purely a tidy up.
Questions to our concern to deal with the report, councillors? No? Officer's recommendations there, I'm happy to adopt. In favour? Yes? Carried. We're to page 67, councillors, in your hard copy. It's item GOB 22/21. By local policy update, policy number 3.023. Can I have a moment and second to deal with this one, please? Councillor Bromlin, thank you. Second, please. Councillor White. No, I'll go to you, Councillor Tom Peters, as a seconder. And it's good to hand over to Mr. Dell. Is that this? No?
Yes, and through you, I know this has been a little while coming, so I apologize for the delay, but we wanted to get advice on this. And you'll recall the background of it. Currently in council policy, we can offer. Yeah, sorry. Currently in council's existing policy, there's a maximum amount of 5%, which can be nominally deducted from the local supplier price for the purpose of a price comparison. And you'll recall that we had a presentation to council from a local business suggesting that that was perhaps too low. And as a result of that, we started looking into the guidelines and other councils on this matter. And we also saw some legal advice, and so you'll see under the report section there, we saw the advice from Claudia Perry regarding the proposed policy. As per the guidelines, because the guidelines issued by the state government do state that council should consider legal advice regarding the proposed policy to ensure it doesn't breach either the Competition and Consumer Act, the Fair Trading Act, or various international trade agreements. So the advice received was that, in our opinion, the application and all of increasing the price of range goods to local suppliers is mooted and does not offend anti-competitive legislation. And the one exception there is where work is undertaken on buildings leased out to commercial tenants as these are business activities, and the policy wouldn't apply to such business activities. They went on to say it's not the only way to assist local industry suppliers and may not necessarily deliver long-term sustainable benefits to the suppliers or the community. And they said that, in our opinion, by local policies that consider, amongst other things, local benefits are more likely to promote the medium to long-term benefits of local suppliers and the community as a whole. They went on to say that a one-dimensional buy local policy based purely on providing a price advantage may not be based on sound reasoning if applied in all circumstances. And in the research that we did, we found the Queensland Government's procurement statement policy called Optimising Opportunities for Local Suppliers, and that was seen to be a good example of a multi-dimensional policy. In that policy, it talks about optimising opportunities for local suppliers, specifically states that the approach taken to any procurement will depend on the nature of the procurement at hand. This includes low value and low business risk purchases and procurement that is assessed as being high value and or has a high degree of business risk. So we have to force such a course. It goes on to explain that some of the things that can be done, government buyers should consider any benefits that suppliers will bring to the local area. The type of benefits suppliers they can bring will vary from procurement to procurement. Therefore, we need to identify what benefits are appropriate during the planning stage of conducting procurement. Price advantage is just one of the factors that can be used to support local suppliers and benefit the local community. But providing a price advantage to local suppliers is not the only way to do so. Other considerations may be relevant. And then their policy, the Queensland policy, spoke about a number of things that can be done to assist local suppliers, including holding a Meet the Buyer forum, so understanding and eliminating barriers to local suppliers, working with suppliers as part of the development program to improve performance and capabilities. The best practice policy to promote local suppliers will be a multi-dimensional capacity policy that is flexible and seeks to ensure that local suppliers are not only preferred because they are local to build a price advantage, but it helps to improve their performance and capabilities. So really, in terms of this policy, the way I see it, it's more of an economic development type approach rather than just budgeting or a price approach. An important aspect of a multi-dimensional policy is incorporating a local benefits test, and such local benefits includes local jobs, opportunities for local supply chains, opportunities for apprentices and traineeships, and case-by-case benefits. A local benefit should be readily identifiable, evaluated, measured, and reported on. And the benefit of incorporating the local benefits test is that there is scope to balance the interests of the local suppliers and the community as a whole, which is not necessarily the case for a policy based solely on providing local suppliers with a price advantage. The disadvantages can become a little bit more complicated than just having a fixed amount. The new buy local policy has been developed taking into account all of that information, and the copy is attached to your reading. So rather than an advantage based on price alone, the new buy local policy requires council staff involved in procurement decisions to conduct a local benefits test in certain circumstances, details of which are contained in the policy. essentially though, for all significant procurement activities of goods and services, i.e. above the minimum threshold of $50,001, the local benefits test will be applied where there is a potential for goods and services to be acquired locally. And in such circumstances, a local benefit weighting of up to 30% may be applied. So the policy is attached there, and so what it needs to be remembered that for some things, we're always going to buy some things local, and for some things, it won't make sense to buy things local. What we're talking about in terms of the application of this policy is where there's potential for something to be bought locally. And I'll use an example. I'll use an example of business in town that came and spoke to us about requesting the price increase. Obviously, they produce goods which could be bought locally or could be bought out of town. The way this policy would work is if it's over a certain threshold, the people considering the procurement of the goods would have to, in determining what weighting is given to the various aspects of the procurement, how much weighting would be given to the benefits that would be derived to the business and to the town from the procurement. Now, it might be that as a result of procuring business from council, they can keep on apprentices or put on more apprentices, things like that. So it would have to be considered. It's a case-by-case basis, and it would need to be considered on a case-by-case basis. But I think it would really be beneficial to think of things in that economic development type framework. On the last page of the policy, it talks about the budget limitation and recording of any additional cost to council. So it's recognised that as a result of the implementation of this policy, there could be an additional cost to council that is greater than that from the existing policy, which potentially gives a 5% advantage based on price alone. So whenever this policy is enacted in procurement decisions and such a situation arises, this will be recorded and reported to council and the quarterly budget review to highlight the additional cost of influencing the policy, or yes, the cost of influencing the policy. Should the budget impact become too burdensome on council, some adjustments may be required at the next review of the policy. So it's just to be aware that we need to be focused on the budget and the cost as well. I'm happy to take any questions, but that's generally the crux of it.
Questions to Paul to do with the report, Councillor Nish, I'll take you.
Yeah, Paul, thanks for that. But I read for this twice last night, and each time I got more confused. I think what we've done here is made something reasonably simple in a very, very complicated process. I can see they're going to be 4 or 5 full-time staff just to look at benefits and analysis and does it suit the Aboriginal, all that sort of thing here. There's so much in there. I just think it's too hard. It's something which should not be that difficult.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate the comment. I guess in terms of procurement decisions, whenever any procurement decision is made over a certain threshold, the staff involved have to allocate weightings to different criteria. This is just another criteria, as I've said. But take your point, it is more complicated, and that was highlighted in the report that it would be more complicated than just something on price alone. But it's something that the staff would have to work through with project training and so on.
Now you mentioned perhaps employing a procurement officer. That's one of the things you talked about before the last budget.
Through you, that has been raised by me previously, but it's not part of the considerations around this report.
Councillor Rogan, you indicate?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, through you, Paul. Paul, just for a bit of clarity, I understand everything that you explained and this, but I do agree with Councillor McNeish a little bit. It does seem fairly complex. So just for clarity, are we talking about you mentioned a few times, you know, jobs over a certain threshold are taken case by case. So just for my benefit, doesn't the local benefits test, which has got to be applied over 50 grand, cover that? Doesn't that therefore mean if it's over 50 grand, that meets the case, we've got to apply this test and the job's done? It either gets a weighting or it doesn't. Is that too simple? Am I looking at it too simple?
You're referring to that.
We need to be looking at it simple.
Yeah, good point. This is report to what Councillor Gish said. Councillor, you're referring to that last paragraph of the last.
On page 7.
Yeah.
Just how it works.
Yeah. So I'll raise that so councillors can have if you haven't already, I know you have, but which is what Councillor Ravens are referring to. Mr. Dillon.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, so Councillor Logan was saying that when that $50,000 threshold was reached, we will always apply this.
Yeah.
This 30%.
Is that correct?
Yes. The 30% was a maximum percentage, up to 30%. So the intention was that it wouldn't be set at a fixed 30%, because when determining weightings for procurement, those involved in the decision might determine, because of the nature of the procurement, that something needs a higher weighting than something else.
Well, if I may, Mr.
I'll go to that CD, Councillor, and I'll just come back to you. I apologise.
One of the challenges with procurement in general is the requirements for what we're trying to procure. So we're trying to put in a policy that's flexible enough that council can be satisfied of that the local benefits test has been applied. And what Paul's talking about with the weighting, to try and give a real world example, if we've got grant funding, it's got a short time frame that needs to be expended, we will change the weighting of the procurement process to reflect how fast somebody can deliver. So you might have to pay a bit more if you've got the grant funding, because we want it done faster than what we could if we waited for a little while. So that's when Paul's talking about the changing. That's why we changed the evaluation criteria, is to meet the outcomes when we call. But all of those people who are then eligible to tender for those particular supplies will put in the same offer, and they'll be evaluated on the same playing field, applying the local benefits test in accordance with the other requirements.
Thank you. If I may, my concern was firstly the same as John's, about the complexity or the apparent complexity to lay people. Therefore, I'm thinking it might be complex to people putting in tenders for the first time to this council. Someone that's used to doing it and you know, dealing with Tenfield Council will probably have a fair handle on it. But I'm just concerned that when it all works out and you've said a level playing field, that they've all got that level playing field, because I was heading down the line of thought here that perhaps it's not a level playing field when those involved, as Paul said, in the process could determine how much weighting they put on it. As long as, you know, it seems to me that there's nothing set in stone there, and I'm thinking maybe there should be.
There really can't be, because of, as Kylie mentioned, it's different circumstances arise where certain criteria might need to have a higher weighting than another criteria. I guess the other thing I would say is that, you know, as part of the implementation of this policy, I see us working with the likes of the chamber and having some workshops to provide some training in how it works, so that we can provide some real life examples, so to make it easier and to promote it, you know, as well as something new. So just a few points.
Councillor Bromwell, I'll go. You've got a question to do the report, Councillor?
Yes, thank you. Look,
I'll come back to you, Councillor.
I just want to thank Paul and Mr. for the comprehensive research you did on all those other shires and areas that have been doing this better than we were previously. The issue is often it's local jobs are missed out when they're under 50,000.
Yeah.
We know from the works that we've done here, the depot and the chamber, that there is a weighting. Given we saw that in the documents, the weighting that staff do provide, which is a good thing, and we saw how that worked. And it's not so much the supplier who has to apply the weighting, it's the staff who do once they lodge the tender. So I would also expect that local businesses do the right thing by the community by not inflating prices. And I believe Paul's addressed that through putting the 40% weighting there on price, so that locals are not tempted to whack the price up. So yeah, thanks, I think you've done a great job.
Councillor Dish, another.
Oh, it's a one mistake.
I apologise, Councillor Roberts.
Sorry, commercial, down at the bottom of the first page, and then heavy writing, it's commercial things.
For you, Councillor.
I know they do it.
Councillor Dish.
Just a quick question, Paul, just not hypothetical, but I noticed in the capital expenditure report, the mayor had to get a new iPad. How would that be priced? Where would that have come from? Was that, did the locals get an opportunity to sell that iPad to council, or does that just go through Office Works or something like that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll take on notice where we got that from. I can't recall off the top of my head.
I don't know, I'm just wondering if a case like this, like the $700 thing, is it worthwhile going local, or might be, everyone knows Office Works is probably the best place to go or something, to go straight there, or?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if there was someone local that sold them,
yeah,
I reckon we'd go with them. Yeah, because they're local, but I don't believe there's anyone local itself.
I haven't received any iPad either, Councillor, I don't know where that comes from.
A couple of expenditure reports.
Seriously, same one I've always had from day dot.
Sorry?
Still got the chip on the side of where I dropped it one day. Anyway, Councillor Top.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I congratulate Paul on all the hard work he's done, but I mean, I agree with Councillor McNish, it's just too hard to even think about. From a layman's point of view, why can't we just buy locally? If suppliers can supply it, otherwise buy elsewhere at the best possible price, just summarise and that's it. That's what it used to be when I first got on council, didn't need all this other stuff.
Thanks for transparency.
Did you have a comment, Mr. Dole?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I know what you're saying, Councillor Peters, but obviously, we have to be budget conscious as well, and certainly for larger purchases, we want to get the best value for money for the ratepayer, as well as think of the local benefits, and that's why, as I mentioned, there's some things that we will always buy local. We'll always go to the local shops for various items. Some things we can't go local for if there's a particular piece of IT equipment we can't get here. Obviously, we have to go outside the shop for that. But where we can buy locally, we want to optimise the opportunity for locals to supply. And I think the buy local policy, which provides some scope to for waiting for economic benefits, I think that allows us to.
Councillor Robert, I'll allow one more and then we'll put the.
I just say, this is for public exhibition, whether it's solely goes to public exhibition, so I'm sure it'll be interesting to get the comments from the general public in relation to the change.
And councillor, be fully aware, councillors, as a councillor, you can put in a submission. You are a ratepayer, but don't feel that you can't. That's clear. Okay, officer's recommendations there, councillors, all in favour? Against? We'll do the one again, all in favour? Thank you, against, carried. Councillors, you want to break for some little lunch? Yep. Okay, can I have a motion to suspend standing orders, please? Councillor Michael, second by Councillor Murray, all in favour? Cancel, carried. We're back about 11, right? A bit after that. We're going to break for just find out Councillor Paul to Councillor Berry.
Get going.
15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, we're right.
Please do resume standing orders, please. Councillor Raven, I thank you. Second, Councillor Sawyer, I thank you. All in favour? Against, carried. Councillor Berry and Councillor Forbes, are you back online?
Yes, they're both here.
Yeah, absolutely.
How was Margo?
Yes, good, good.
Righto.
I had a lousy cook mine.
I don't get involved with that. Leave you home. Righto,
But
Councillor.
I admit it.
Righto, Councillor. We'll start with page 72. Councillor President from Bromley, their hard copy. It's item GAB 23/21, customer service governance records update, policy 1.164. Go and move in a second to deal with this one, please. Councillor Broderick, thank you. Second by Councillor Murray, thank you. And once again, I'll hand over to Mr. Della. Yes?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'll hand over.
Oh, here we go. Apologise. There we go. And welcome, as always.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to update council's procurement policy. Policy has been reviewed and amended for accuracy where required for insertion into council's current policy template. And policy has also been redrafted to reflect the intent of the policy document, being to provide the strategic framework for procurement and reflect updates in the New South Wales government procurement policy framework where that applies to local government. The detailed procedural information that is previously or in our current policy format has been removed from the policy and it has been established in a procedural document, a draft procedural document, which is attached for information with the draft policy. Due to the significant redraft of the document, this policy will need to go to public exhibition for 14 days, and that will be from the 24th of March to the 7th of April. And I open up to any questions.
No. Officer's recommendations in. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, movement on page 74, item GOB 24/21. Customer Service Governance Records New Policy. Can I move in the second rule to deal with this one, please? Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Second by Councillor Mike Gregory, thank you. And once again, I hand over to Eric to present this report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the presentation of a new policy, the legislative compliance policy. New South Wales Audit Office report on local government in 2019 highlighted areas for improvement by councils from financial audits in 2018 and 2019. And it specifically identified that legislative compliance frameworks assist councils to capture and monitor cases, federal government. While there has been a slight improvement in percentage of councils with a legislative compliance policy and register, they identified that further improvement was required. So currently, Tenfield Shire subscribes to the local government legal legislative compliance database, and we operate and use that compliance database alongside the delegations database, and that sets our framework and mechanisms for meeting legislative compliance requirements. However, because of the Audit Office recommendation, we identified that we needed to put a policy in place that sits above this, that actually specifically identifies that is what we use to meet our compliance requirements. And I'll open up for questions.
Questions, Derek, to do this one? No questions, councillors, the recommendations there, all in favour? Yes, carried, thank you. Page 76, councillors, in your hard copy, GOV 25/21. Local orders for keeping of animals in urban areas for Tenfield Shire. At policy 3.120, review of the submissions. Can I move in second to deal with this, please? Councillor Roden, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Roman, thank you. And I'll hand over to Mr. Mark Pedro. Welcome, Coop.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for you, Mr. Mayor, one submission was received in relation to the standards that we're going to change from 30 metres to 10 metres on the grounds that there might be a greater submission. More to do with diseases and the smell. So getting back to the policy itself, now that we do have a lot of houses now that are getting built within vacant blocks, but there is not enough distance for 30 metres between two houses. That means the blocks can't be done, you can't use the block. So that was hence why we moved it from 30 metres to 10 metres.
Questions to Coop or any other staff to relevant to do with this policy, councillors? No, Rec Officer's recommendations there, councillors, all happy to receive? In favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Coop. Councillors, we move on to page 79, the hard copy. We start on our financial reports. To do with item GOV 26/21, it's finance and accounts period ending 28th of February 2021. Can I move in a second to hear, please? Councillor Brian Murray, I thank you. Second, please. Councillor Michael Creepy, I thank you. And I'll hand over to our acting manager, finance and technology. Jess, welcome, Jess, as always, to present this report on the future.
Good morning, everyone. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the first report is the finance and accounts for the period ending 28th of February. So as at 28th of February, our general bank account had 4.147 million in cash, and we had $7.37 million in investments. We had one water leak concession for the month of February, and year to date we've had 57 applications so far for 603 certificates, which is still a significant increase on previous years. Questions for this report?
Any questions to Jess? The report? No, just a couple of comments, just good stuff. I think the fact that council decided some time ago that the concealed water leaks didn't have to come before council all the time and more of an operational thing, I think that's been a great success. And just deal with that, because usually it's not anyone's fault, it's on the ground. And I'm pleased that that's been working well, and the fact that we get shared with the 603 certificates, that's good information for us councillors. There's plenty going on in our LGA to do with subdivisions, selling the blocks. So it's good stuff. Councillors' officers' recommendations there, all happy to receive a note against Kelly. Councillors, page 83 in your hard copy, item GOB 27/21. Capital expenditure report as of 28th of February 2021. Moving to second here, please. Councillor Rogan, I'll take you as a mover. Second, I'll take you, Councillor Peters, as a second. And once again, I'll hand over to Jess.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this is the capital expenditure year to date to the plan for February. So the report's in the A3 attachment. Any questions on that one?
Questions to Jess? Deal with that?
Just note,
Yes, Councillor Nick.
Mr Mayor, I've had replacement for.
Job with the gun, job with the button.
Well, that'd be all right. I didn't really know I've got it. Anyway, somewhere there.
First item of action.
I'll take that on notice, Jess.
There's the other one.
Oh, it's the same one that was in years ago. It's not. Okay, well, I apologise. Can't remember that. I know I've got a new case. But anyway, but thank you, Councillor McNish, for following my.
You right there, new case.
Any other questions to Jess to deal with the report? There isn't, councillors, the recommendations here to receive the note, all in favour. Against the carry, thank you. Page 85, councillors, in your hard copy, JB 28/21. Change to proposed borrowings for 2021 financial year. Could I move to second here, please? Councillor Sweet, thank you. Second place, Councillor Murray, I'll take you as a second. Thank you. And once again, I'll hand over to Jess to present this.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this report is to increase the level of proposed borrowings for the current financial year. So there's three recommendations. The first is to approve the increase from the original amount that was in the operational plan, which was $3.664 million, to now increase it to $4.048,952. Second recommendation is to approve the loan for a fixed term of 20 years. We've had the quotes come back from three financial institutions, with Commonwealth Bank being the lowest, with an indicative rate of 2.72% per annum. And the third recommendation is that council's proposed borrowing return be updated with the OLG. So in the background section, there's a summary there of what the original borrowings were supposed to cover for the 3.664 million. This was majority split between waste project works out of Under the Moon and transport network projects. This is now being revised to remove the amount for the waste infrastructure. This is now going to be moved into next year's proposed borrowings, just because of timing, the works won't really be started this financial year. However, the increase has come from the number of items on page 86, most of which is due to council requirement to fund 50% of the Deepwater and Kangaroo Creek bridges. This wasn't included in the original proposed borrowings. We hoped that we would get some grants to cover this. However, that hasn't come to fruition. So overall, the net impact has been an increase in required borrowings of $384,881. And I know there was also a question from the Mayor before the meeting about the effect on our debt cover ratio as a result of this. So at the moment, the forecast for the end of financial year is that we will be at 4.78, which is still well above the benchmark of 2 times debt cover ratio.
Yeah.
Any questions on this one?
Just to, before we go to you, Councillor Bond, just to do with the normal plan, what was the percentage to 2 point?
2.72 executive as of yesterday.
Thank you. Councillor Bond?
Just part two, Mr. Mayor, the fixed term of 20 years, but would that be the lowest interest rate, would that be fixed as well in the budget?
Yes, that's fixed. That's the lowest rate we've got.
And councillors, thanks, Jess, and through you, Paul, with the findings that was demanded by just in our pre-brief, something I as a council and as mayor like to keep our head on to do, if we all understand our debt cover ratio. So for every dollar we borrow, it's telling us we're $4.78 to repay. Like, you know, and the recommendation from the OLG is $2, correct, Justin Paul? Yeah. So we're way above that, and it's just something I follow a bit, that's all.
Yeah.
But thank you for pointing that, just thank you. Councillor Michael.
The fixed term of 20 years, that's a normal go, it seems to be a long term.
3.
You're covered with
The
the,
majority of the loans that we've currently got out for that period, about 20 years. sorry.
20 years, hey? Worries?
Any other questions to Jess to do with the report, councillors? If not, we've got officer recommendations there, all in favour? Against, carried. Thanks, Jess. Councillors, removal of reports from committees and delegates, we move on to page 88. It's item RC6/21. Reports from committees and delegates, Murray Darling Association. Mr Deputy Mayor, you being the delegate, you happy to move along those lines? Second, please. Councillor Tom Peters, thank you. Councillor, sorry, do you wish to speak to the report?
Not really, Mr Mayor, it's just simply more of the information that they need to send out to keep us up to date with what's happening. This basically is the board meeting, which is comprised of each of the chairmen from the various regions. Our region being 11, John Campbell from Gunnedah is the president of our region, and they just get together and go through the reports, and we get a board report as we should. Mr. Deputy, just a question for me, and I apologise, I meant to raise it with you yesterday, it's just one of those information only. There was 2 items, one was the Dessorts going to the conference, one was the name change. And the other was they were looking at doing the areas, mapping the areas were involved in the different zones. Yeah.
Where are they with that stuff?
I think the name change is still due to be debated, but I think the South Australians will vote as a block and prevent it.
So that'll be at the conference which you're attending at
Yes.
Wentworth, yes?
The week before the tourism conference.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
And the other part was the boundary changes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that's an AGM thing, but it's certainly up to the board. All the regions were asked to put submissions in, which we did.
Yep.
But I'm not sure where that's at the moment.
Thank you. Any other questions to Councillor Sawyer as a delegate to do that report? No? Reports out, councillors, all happy to receive a note. Yes? Okay. Councillors, page 92, item RC7/21, reports to committees and delegates. Glenfield Shire Local Traffic Committee meeting held 11th of February. Can I move in a second to here, please? Being the chair, I'm happy to move it, actually. And I'll take you as a second, Councillor Bromwich. Thank you. Any questions to do with that report, councillors? Councillor Bromwich, then I'll go to you, Councillor McNish.
Councillor McNish first.
Oh, apologise. Because she's got a mouthful, councillor, I'm going to get
I just want to go, I should read.
Yeah, well, that's your problem. So you first, Councillor McNish.
Just number 6 on page 94, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Just a quite a broader question than the specifics here, but about the disabled parking.
Yep.
Consultant to undertake this work to be included in the tender. It just seems to me that we seem to grab a consultant whenever anything comes up, and surely we've got a very good engineer here. Why do we have to get a consultant to work out where disabled can park? I mean, I can do it myself. I'm disabled. But
Be careful, you've got one beside you.
we're probably looking at thousands of dollars here. Just
I'll go to Fiona to answer your question.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, it's just as simple as amount of resources, and it's drawing up a plan, and we just don't have the resources at the moment to put towards that particular item.
So we have to spend thousands of dollars to get a consultant.
It won't be thousands of dollars. When we talk tenders, we're really only talking quotes. It's just terminology, really. We just don't have the resources at the moment. We're too busy juggling grants and funds and
The
stuff.
alternative is that we wait, that's what we do, we try and get stuff done now, or we wait until such time as we get this on our.
But like I was saying, the disabled parks are already there. Outside the doctors and places like that. Why don't we get a consultant to, I guess, to formalise it?
It's more so a complete parking concept for town.
Yeah.
So rather than us scribble it up on a piece of paper, it's getting somebody to formalise it and put it in there with the right measurements, etc., that can be presented to the likes of Transport for New South Wales for approval.
Yeah, more red tape says, no. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Goldman, you've indicated.
Yeah, just a couple, that was, there's already a disabled park at the end of Hellkins, well, it's outside the pie shop, so I mean.
That was moved from the cap.
Right.
It is there in front of the, on the top side of the garden, the layway there,
It's
isn't it?
got,
In
so
front of
it's
the
only-
Mitchell's old shoe shop.
Yeah.
yeah, so it's very, very close proximity. Do they mean have one outside and change the one that's there?
Can you remember, Fiona? I mean,
I think they're just looking for more space.
we get it through the road to traffic, we get this all the time.
But there's one right,
I know,
basically,
I know,
in front of that
Councillor.
shop.
I'm aware of that.
The other thing, the lighting request in Rouse Street, item 4, are still held up with Essential Energy. What is that particular lighting request?
Replacing the, or improving the light 80% of crossings, or is it?
Yeah, across pedestrian crossings, it's RMS grant funded, but Essential Energy need to come up with a design, so it's just improving the lighting at the pedestrian crossings themselves.
Then with the event request for Crew Grid Tenfield gravel ride, which was supported, that's all good, but I was just wondering why, if someone could explain to me, if there's if the local mountain bike club just goes for a social ride on a weekend or something, why does it need to be an event? Because I can't find, I've been looking in some other councils to see where else just a social ride is deemed to be an event, like it's sort of no different to a bunch of school kids riding home together after school. They don't require police and motorcycles with vests and everything else.
Fair question, councillor?
It's an organised event versus simply that, a group of people just getting together on a whim. But once you get out there and you start advertising and you're asking people to join you, it becomes an event under the guidelines.
And part of the rules for that, the letter they received, including having only within mobile coverage. Well, good luck with that. What are we going to just let them drive around town? Because we don't have mobile coverage. So I just think, you know, they started up a club and to get people active and involved,
Yes.
to get people here, and it seems like we are putting red tape in front of them for just a few people to go for a bit of a ride. I just find it a bit over the top.
Well, we're trying to do the right thing as a council, councillor, and I agree that to do with the geographic world we live in, to do with Tenfield and the hills and all that stuff, well, yeah, mobile coverage is a problem. Did you wish to speak to that?
I have to take that one on notice, I'm not too sure about the mobile
Yeah.
coverage.
That's what's in. And the final thing, the Bill River Road, people were really happy, thanks that that sacrificial seal has been put on with the weather dirt coming through already. So does that would that potentially meet some of this disaster funding? Because it's new works was perfect before and suddenly we have the weather, there's dirt coming through.
The nature of the work that we've done on the initial seals is that it's a maintenance grade, a glorified maintenance grade with the black seal on top. We're not expecting not to get the oil failure, but if it has been a result, it's a direct result of the storm, rather than it be something that can be proven as workmanship, then we'd be able to put it in for the claim.
So a few weeks.
It's like Castlereagh, we weren't expecting to have no isolated failures, just in the speed. I mean, we're not constructing it at a normal construction standard. It's really if we get 99% success rate and we're not having to go back there and grade it, we're saving maintenance money down the track, and that's what the whole proposal of the LRCI initiatives was. So I have to take it on notice and look at the site and see whether.
Not just Hillary, I mean, any of those new seals, given the wet weather and they're very recent seals, I think a case could be made that this is wet weather damage. And yet,
Potentially storm damage versus saturation. You don't normally get saturation unless something's sat in water for 5 or 6 days. It just depends on the damage I have.
I don't think it'll be on the water, it's just.
But the whole, to support what you said, James, the program has been really well received across the community to do with that, these bits and pieces of roads that are being done. And fully aware that yes, it is a maintenance grade and we put the black stuff on it. We're not building a Pacific Highway there. I am fully aware of that. Anyway, any other questions to do with the report, councillors? No, the report's there to receive a note. All in favour? Yes, carried. Councillors, we'll move on to page 99 in your hard copy, it's item RC8/21. It's to do with the report from the Board of Regional Council, which we referred to as DROP. And being the chairperson of that, I'm happy to move the adoption of this report. Can I have a second, please? Councillor Murray, thank you. As our other delegate today. Councillors, happy to take any questions? No? We do just want to note that with the pending retirement of Noel, and if you want to go to public record, I do think you're going for all that you put into the book and being a secretary and treasurer and chief and bottle washer and everything else you do, that it's been much appreciated. And I know that you've got a great affinity with the rock group and lovely trips around, so it's good, but thank you. The report's there, councillors, all happy to receive a note. Thank you. Councillors, we move on to page 107 to do with item RC9/21, reports to committee delegates. The Country Mayors Association with the meeting held in March, being the delegate then part of the executive, we're happy to move this report, councillors. Got a second, please. Second, please. Thank you, Councillor Bromley. Have you taken questions, councillors, to do with the report? There's no, Councillor Bromley, yes.
Just on that page 113, the letter from Debbie Noel Holland.
Yep.
And as she's referring to that percentage thing that we've got in now.
Yes.
So she basically saying we're not going to get it, or
We're not getting what?
any change to that percentage.
That's the graph on 114, which is your prior, we're going down in Sydney.
Yeah, the letter there.
Yeah.
Quoting all the things that saying that there's no plans for it to be increased.
Well, I think what she's doing is showing a comparison where it's just not fair to do with the Sydney councils and our regional and rural councils. And fully support it. And I think it's a motion going to Alvin, too, I think. Yeah. So it isn't, she's done a really good job there, Daniel. I think. Any other questions, councillors? No other questions? The report's there, councillors, all happy to receive a note? Yes, Barry? Councillors, remember the page 122 in your hard copy, item RES2/21. Council resolution registered to March. I'll move in a second here, please. Councillor Sawyer, I thank you, second, please. Councillor Michael Bradley, thank you. I'll hand over to Anthony CEO to take support.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy to take any questions if there are.
Questions to do with the resolution register? Councillor Berry, apologise.
Yeah, on page 15.
Yep.
It's about the notice of motion Maryland Condor Road through Maryland National Park, that we write to them and see if we can keep that road open.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering where that's at the moment.
Good question, councillor.
At this point in time, Councillor Berry, we've received some responses or requests for additional information. And we've actually put those out to some individuals to get back to us about where they'd like specific infrastructure located on that particular area. So as soon as they get back, we'll advise National Parks and try to progress the process further.
Did you hear Colin, councillor?
Yeah, I think I got it all. Thank you.
They're considering it. We're in discussions and we're just waiting for some feedback from an interested party about where they'd like to actually put their infrastructure so we can provide that to National Parks of our request.
Councillor Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor, through you, Colin. Colin, can you just clarify that answer you gave Councillor Berry, because I think the resolution was simply, because this council voted ages ago to close it, and the resolution was just to let them know that we wanted it, we changed our mind. I don't think it had anything to do with any infrastructure or anything like that.
It's been action from a council perspective. They've asked us for additional information not to justify, but to demonstrate what possible usage we may have that in the future. And that's what we're trying to provide to National Parks. So we've executed the council resolution just as is. National Parks have asked us questions about what the intended use could be so that they can actually respond on whether or not that would be supported.
Councillor Berry. Councillor Berry.
Yeah, part of the reason was for firefighting, and I think that's probably the most important reason, because once national parks get open, they won't keep it open as a road, and we do need it open as a road for firefighting purposes.
Yeah, it was for access, councillor, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, access to keep that for firefighting mainly, but you know, if you want to get information, additional information, that's fine. But I think we should, you know, pressure national parks not to close that road.
But to be supportive of Colin's reply, they've asked for additional information on Preston Say. That's what they're asked for.
And also whether or not they can actually manage that, which we talked about internally with their own resources as fire trails and the like. That's the conversation.
Can I add anything to?
Only that I believe the original letter to close it actually included that they were going to actually have to maintain fire access.
Yeah.
So to take it back over wouldn't make any difference to the fire access. That was a condition of us handing it back anyway.
That remained in it.
That was it.
Yes, access to it for fire.
And it got to the minister's desk, who was sitting in his tray for Gazette. And now they're asking the questions why.
Okay.
That's why we needed to respond.
Right. I'll go to you, Councillor Bowman, yes.
Part of the reason why is that the original Maryland National Park was a small area, and it has since been dramatically increased right across to the border. So part of the issue of us wanting to maintain the road is for access, firefighting or otherwise, not just solely firefighting. And I understand there have been occasions when national parks have said to locals, well, we can close the road to locals using it other than in the event of fire. So in order to get their plan of management, their 2002 plan of management altered to allow anything such as a border walk or a trail through there, that will take several years. So by us maintaining that road open under our control, that is therefore there's no disinhibitor for those other actions by the local area taking place for tourism or otherwise. And it's all because of the expansion of the park, but the plan of management, which originally was for an area that had no infrastructure, has now, it now plops across on this additional land that does have infrastructure, as in road networks, and is not suitable. And our local people should not be held to ransom because the plan of management hasn't been updated since 2002 by National Parks and has no intention of doing it for quite some time. And it doesn't help with the existing circumstances there. So absolutely we should be pushing, and I'm happy to help you with those additional reasons as to why we need to maintain those roads.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Berry. Councillor Berry.
Yeah, I think everything's being said. although some people use part of that thing for their own benefit, part of that road for their own benefit that I wasn't aware of. So I think we should try and keep that open ASAP.
Well, I'm sure with the offer from Councillor Brolin and with the council reply with the request for more information, we'll get there. But anyway, it's just a long, slow process. Any other questions to do with the resolution, registered councillors? No? All happy to receive and note? Hence carried. Councillors, there is no motion, there is no confidential business. So with that, I will close this our March meeting, and I thank you all very much. The meeting is ended. Peace and harmony. I wish you well.
Yeah, I just, I don't know if it's the right time now or not, but I wonder if we can write a letter to the Barnaby to get our Telstra set up, fixed up. My NBN's been out for 6 weeks, you know, and they don't, there's nobody at Telstra you can talk to, you can't do nothing. James Kelly